Okay, so moving forward in this example, what we're going to do is to start to compile the graphics to make it look a little bit more like a game. So the current layer we've got the user interface stuff and the ball on the same layer. There's not really any reason why they can't coexist. I'll just move these close to the ball. And we'll just call that UI, sensor interface. We'll have maybe a layer for the characters, which we'll eventually create, and we'll have a layer for the level. And ideally, the ball will be above everything, so that visually it looks a little bit more persuading. Okay, so I think the first thing we want to do is to create a nice long level. So I'm just going to set sky background. In fact, I'll give a layer for my background as well. Drag it to the bottom, call that background. And on the background layer, this will stay static for now. I think what we'll do is just put a box in place, change the fill colour, something a little bit closer to a sky, that's a bit too bright, and maybe even give it a bit of a linear gradient. Like so. And I'll just change that gradient position using the gradient rotate tool, which you'll find underneath the free transform tool. The gradient transform tool allows you to do certain things like rotate, resize, scale within its container. So for example, I could scale it like that, and rotate it in this case. There we go. I'll just scale it in a little bit so it fits on the screen a bit more. And use a center to move it up like this, or down. Okay, let's get rid of the outlines. I don't necessarily need them. So I'll just test the moving out, see what it looks like. Okay. And off the ball goes. So what we'll be doing eventually is moving the level rather than the ball itself, in the x-axis at least, to give the impression that it is moving still. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll start off with a rectangle. I think I'll have that kind of highlight colour to it. I'll zoom out and try and make a very long thin layer like that. It's gone off the screen, but convert that to symbol, and that can just be called level. The registration point currently set to center. I think we can leave it being like that for now. Okay, and we'll just change that. Zoom in. Perhaps just give it, the ink bottle, a bit of a stroke first. So that stroke can just be white. That goes the whole way around. What I want to do then is change its thickness, like so, and just get rid of the, actually I can leave the edges in I suppose. So it's very basic at the moment. I might even give this a slight gradient as well. And then just use the gradient transform tool to to zoom out quite a long way. Okay, it's too big to actually edit, which is a bit of a shame. But for now we'll live with everything like that. Obviously we can draw over that, create a much more realistic level. So I'm just going to drag that down near the bottom of the stage, and we'll have a bit of white space hanging over. Oops, also forgot about this colour here. So let's delete that. Get rid of the outline, and then I'll resize this using the transform tool to fit in the window, and then I can redo the gradient transform positioning like so. So not much of an issue that I cut a hole in it. There we go. Okay, and I'll give it an instance name of level underscore MC, and I'll save at that point, and then I'm going to be moving on into the class file. Okay, and then I look for where we've been moving the ball itself, which is in move ball. And let's say, for example, rather than adding VX onto the ball itself, which is currently referred to as e.target.x, if we say level underscore MC dot x minus equals, so I'll move it to the left, VX, save that, and just see what happens at that point. There we go. Oh, we saw it moving. It went quite a long way, and the only reason we knew that it had gone was because the end of the level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that a bit bigger by moving this all the way across to the left, and then I'll extend it and transform tool. And just move it across again. Okay, so to give it some detail, make it look a little bit more like something's going on, I'm just going to brush in some white. Actually, I'll set that to ragged first, and then we can convert that line to fill, like so. And then if we want to amend it even further, we can just brush over it. I think that'll do for now. So back over that timeline. There we go. Off it pops. So now all I need to do is just move this all the way across to the right. Currently the clip is 13,000 plus pixels wide, which is wider than I can see on my monitor, unfortunately. There we go. Okay, so you can see there I'm currently set to land in a specific point, but what I want to do is to make sure it lands roughly on top of this, so that'll be about another 80 to 100 pixels off on the y-axis. So where it says less than 675, we'll try with 575 and see what happens there. Okay, so maybe another 30 pixels. Maybe just go with 550. Saving that. That's pretty much spot on. Maybe we just need to sit it a little bit on top. 530. go. We could also do, to add to the effect, is amend the movie clip itself to have an extra frame in it where we perhaps paint the fill. So I'm going to change the brush mode across to paint inside, so that when I paint inside of this it doesn't go anywhere else, like that. First I'm going to put an extra frame in, one extra keyframe. I want to put a stop in on the first frame so that it doesn't animate through this flashing, and then just paint this in like a little bit of a splodge at the bottom, maybe make it a bit bigger, and just keep within those lines, or the first top line anyway. Paint inside, try that again. No. Seems to only work on selection inside. Okay. So with that selected inside, just paint over. Okay, try a different brush mode then. Go with paint selection then. And just paint over the top of that selection. Very strange. Okay. That could be because we've painted on a different layer. So let's just undo that back a little bit. And try and focus on that one layer. Seems to have worked. Okay. There we go. Right, that's better. Okay. So what we're looking for now is that when the ball lands, is to tell it to stop on that frame. And where we can do that, it's just here, where if it is less than 530, then do this, and if not, well, else we'll tell e.target to go to and stop in its own timeline on frame 2. And to counter that as well, I can also put in at some point a way of making sure that it is in the right position when we're throwing the ball as well. So it lands, there we go. Quite a rudimentary effect, but you could see from that we could add in animation sequences where maybe perhaps some snow dust flies up or something like that. Okay. So, having done that, we'll end that example at this point. In the next example we'll move on to adding in some characters and then moving forwards.